Hello and welcome back to our continuing adventures on the Let's Defend platform. Today we are tackling the challenge Alternative Data Stream. It's a hard challenge underneath the incident responder path, and it is free, which is always good. Okay, our company CEO assigned an employee to build a website on his GitHub account due to a lack of web developers in the company. While researching how to accomplish this task, the employee noticed a gradual decrease in network bandwidth and observed high CPU usage. In response to this incident, the incident response team took a memory dump of the employee's machine for further investigation. Your assistance is needed to analyze the dump and help the SOC analyst team determine the cause of the problem. And so we are given an ADF.7 zip that I've already pulled down and extracted into, let's see, should just be memdump.rar, about 2 gig file. Okay, for initial access, the user was tricked into downloading a malicious file. What is the full URL of this malicious file? What is the full path, including username of a malicious file that infected the system? What is the MITRE technique ID used by the attacker? What is the full path of the file the attacker created on the system? What is the name of the tool the attacker used to accomplish his goal? What is the IP address and port of the command and control server? And what is the secret data hidden in one of the stolen files? In other words, we're going to have to sit there and do an ADS scan on the memory dump to see what shakes out. So now I have done a little bit of pre-game utilizing the Volatility workbench. I just haven't answered any of the questions. So let me see about trying to bring the Volatility workbench up. In other words, basically just to have a GUI. Okay, so we move this over here. And it's not the best thing since sliced bread, but it basically just allows us to run Volatility 3 and basically just output the results. So, get some sort of general gist of the system. We're dumping in the memdump.rar, and we're starting off with a pslist command in order to see the stuff that's going. So from there, we see VM3D service, VGA auth service, VM tools. So I'm assuming this was a VMware host that this thing was actually popped off on. We see a bunch of edge, command, background. We get ncat, dump it. So that's obviously what they were using to sit there and make the memory dump. And if we do windows.cmd line, we'll get some other interesting aspects in terms of confirming that yes, it is VMware. And I was hoping we would get a look at the have the URL actually displayed somewhere for what we'd be looking at, but it's not in any of this. But we do see a couple of interesting things right off the bat. We've got ncat reaching out to 192.168.1.3 on port 12345. We have CMD touching Windows hidden dir exfiltrate.zip. I mean, I guess if you're going to sit there and make it blatant, you're going to make it blatant. And then that's really about it. Then I tried to do PS3, and that kind of crapped out in the workbench. PS scan. And then we're taking a look at NetScan. So I would expect we should see the netcat in here, obviously. Maybe? So we got edge, 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 SVC host. Then sit there and try to take a look and pull anything else out from the Edge browsers. Again, trying to sit there and get a understanding of, okay, how do we answer the first question? Handles. So basically, a bunch of waffling around, and then it's just like, okay, nuts to this. Because that's not working. I then, so let me switch this back over to, okay. I tried, okay, maybe this wasn't made with volatility 3 in mind, so let's go ahead and try volatility 2. Ran through the different profiles as suggested and just ran into nothing but trouble. So it's like, okay, let's just try command line. No extra fuss or muss. Let's just go straight command line, volatility 3, version 2.8.0. And yes, I made sure the workbench had that, the latest version. So we do command line dot command line, and we get more or less the same of what we were expecting. And then it's like, okay, let's run file scan, because we've confirmed that Microsoft Edge is being used. So let's see if we can actually get the Edge history file. And we let it do its thing. I actually ripped this out, the output, because it was just driving me nuts trying to find it. So let me move this one higher up. We'll transition over. And so, okay, nuts to this. Find me history. So dumped it, and we're doing just a search for the word history. And so what you'll find is, at least in Windows, it should be C users, whatever the username is, app data, local Microsoft Edge, default, assuming there's not any additional profiles, and then history. And so we're just going to iterate through until we hopefully, ta-da, get what we're looking for. So users, administrator, app data, local, Microsoft Edge, user data, default, history. Did I leave out user data when I was specifying the path earlier? I might have. So then we end up with virtual addresses in 5,700 and 5,890. So then we go through and do, so this is still the output of the file scan. Try doing physical address. So windows.dump files dash dash phys addr, and then the address, nothing. Tried both, the one ending in 5700, 5890. I'm like, okay, let's just go and do virtual address. And then we actually get files to actually dump. So yeah, no idea how happy that part made me. So then we're left with extracted files. And typically you get an IMG, a DAT, and a VACB. So because the history file uses SQLite, typically would just whip up DB browser for SQLite. And we dump that bad mofo up. I'm realizing that this is just like, this is gonna screw it up if I try to bring it up for some reason, and I don't know what I've done. How? I do not understand. What? There's nothing different than anything else that I do. Oh, never mind. It takes up the whole stinking window. That's why I can't pull the stupid thing up. Alright, let me make this a little bit smaller here. And I realize, yes, you can't see anything. That's by design. Because realistically, you just see me adjusting a bunch of windows back and forth. Okay, there we go. So this is one of the .dat files that were extracted. And so we can take a look at, so in order to do that, it's open database, and then you're changing the files that you're looking for, because it's going to default looking to a .db, .sqlite, SQLite 3, DB3. You have to do all files, grab the dat, and open it this way. So if we take a look at URL, we can see that this must be another one of the mmox's things, because they're doing a Bing search for mmox, mmox blog, all for one Medium, and then they're pulling up Medium. Okay, how to deploy a website on GitHub, how to deploy a website on GitHub Pages. Full walkthrough on how to manage your page on GitHub. And then we get a file download from files.docspin.gg, and it looks like it's PDF. And then we get a bunch of aspects of, is there a way to hide data in an image? What is the tool name that is used to hide data in an image? And then we get iClam, hi, anything else. So if we go ahead and take a look, see what was downloaded. So we're doing underneath browse data, table, downloads. There's one thing that was pulled down. It looks like it was a GitHub underscore pages.pdf. Well, the wonderful thing is that we need to figure out, okay, where did this come from? We already know it's the docs, or at least I'm assuming it's the docs bin. But you get the local file name originally, and then as you go over, you'll get the refer, which will tell you, in most cases, where did this file come from? So I'm assuming it's going to be https files.docspin.gg 76 Echo Juliet December 0 umbrella 7.pdf as the long around answer to the question, oops, of what is the full URL for this malicious file. Hooray! I guess the other aspect is I should have done file scan to see as to whether or not if that quote unquote PDF actually existed. I may go back through that, pull that down, and actually I might have to. So what is the full path, including file name, of the malicious file that infected the system? Now this goes back to the difference between the refer and the downloads. So let me bring back up the SQLite. So we got the refer. So if we go back to the very beginning, current path and target underscore path, both give us the same thing. C users administrator downloads GitHub underscore pages.pdf. Because that is the file on the local file system, and it also has the underscore in the file name, and that's correct. So then we're down to, okay, what file was created on the system? And now what I'm taking this to mean is going to be that exfiltrate we saw during the running the command line. You're like, wait, command line, what are you talking about? Yeah, you know, the command line. And maybe you don't remember. So we'll go back to volatility. And so when I ran windows.command line, we got to see, okay, ncat being used, but then there's also exfiltrate.zip and see Windows hidden dir exfiltrate. Well, that's not a standard directory, and that is not a standard file on a Windows box, so I'm assuming that's what they're referring to. And yes, okay. Okay, what tools used? Netcat. Okay, where was this stuff going? 192.168.1.3, port 12345. Wait, what? Dot, dot, dot. One, 2, 1, 6, 8. 1, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very close, but apparently I am not there with that. Okay, so might have to come back to that. Because obviously we know. So what was the other aspect? Ah, yes, the windows.mftscan.ads. So let me bring that up in order to sit there and get the final answer. So with volatility 3, there is windows.mftscan.ads, which will look for alternative data streams. And so as we're going through this, right, nothing really here. We're finding just garbage data, and then we hit data in relation to a $RY2860s.text, which apparently is secret, which denotes password : extra and CT secret. I'm assuming it's supposed to be extra CT secret. Oh. And that is correct. So at least there's that. So then what are we stuck trying to figure out? MITRE, and then what's going on with Netcat? Alright, so that's going to be running the... We're not doing file scans. We're going to need NetScan. And we'll have to do... a couple of things. So let me pause this and we'll come back to that. Okay, so the commands all run all denote Netcat reaching out to 192.168.1.3, and it's supposed to be port 12345, but it's still, you're supposedly close to the right answer. So I don't know if it's a format issue. I mean, if I put a space after that, no, that's not it. And it's supposed to be IP dot or no IP colon, or is it? Huh. One nine two one six eight 1.3. And port is just 12345. Is it a special character that I need to copy and paste? No. And everything is still back to very close to the right answer. The third question. What is the MITRE technique ID used by the attacker? T1204.002. User execution malicious file, because they downloaded it and then they ran it. So it got me thinking, okay, what is this thing? Come to find out, it's still on the local file system, so performed a dump and dumped it into VirusTotal. Nothing got picked up. And so I was thinking, okay, well, there's got to be something else we can take a look at. And I mean, thankfully there is. And of course, it's this massive honking window, because it's not like I'm going to scale anything properly. I mean, heaven forbid. All right. So this is apparently this big malicious PDF that was pulled down, which seems to be just a tutorial for setting the stuff up, like kind of like what we'd expect. Index.md. About editing stuff. Picking out a template. And that's it. So I was looking for something that might make mention of ADS or like malware inside a PDF specifically, which brought to the whole thing about being a malicious file, even though this doesn't really look like a malicious file. But I don't think that it was really intended to sit there and actually be malicious. But as part of the thing, I mean, that's why they dumped it onto the docsbin.gg, and it's not up there. So that gets us that particular aspect. So, I mean, I guess good on them for using a little bit of imagination, and then the whole aspect of not actually including malware in here. So hopefully it'll be less AV flags, so just kind of pretend. But that doesn't really get us anywhere else, because at the end of the day, we are still trying to figure out what specifically Netcat is doing. And I mean, I go through and I do, let me see, it's, no, not that one, not that one, this one. So I mean, we can clearly see, it's near the bottom. The host, 192.168.204.131, reaching out to 192.168.1.3 over port 12345. And it says that we're close to the answer, but for some reason that's not the answer. which makes absolutely no sense because if we go through and say, okay, nuts to this, I don't want to believe what that thing is telling me. So I want to check it myself. Okay, great. But if we go through and take it straight to volatility, so again, you can see volatility. I'm in the vol3 using version 2.80, vol.py-f ... because basically the memdump.rar is in the parent folder, and then windows.net scan, it runs through and we get the same exact result near the bottom. Which matches what we saw in command line. So I don't know what is going on here. Although I think I ran that step before that. Yeah, I did, and then it apparently crapped out at a particular point. Not being happy. But it just gives us the same aspect. I suppose it could be something as simple as like it cut off. Because there's only, what, 65,000 roughly ports? So I just tried adding a... Oh, and everything's foreign port. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got netstat and netscan both giving us the same exact results that we would expect. We have the command lines giving us the same exact thing like what we would expect. Yes, I don't know. I might actually have to ask if there's a particular format or if there's a sanity check. Okay. So apparently we just cut off the last digit. So I basically knocked the, cleared the answer section and noticed, oh, 4 asterisks. Okay, well, what if we just knock off the 5? So it takes it as the correct answer, but is it really? Because everything I could find says that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I might ask that in the Discord. But yeah, so apparently the answer they're looking for is 192.168.1.3:123, even though I don't know. But we got it. Yeah, I don't get it myself, but whatever. Whatever. So there we go. That is alternative data streams. I will find a couple of articles that talk about ADS. Pop that in to the description along with the copy to website for, what was it? DB browser for SQLite. I think they've got a Mac version if you want to sit there and go through with that. So there's always that aspect as well. yeah, that's kind of a pain in the posterior, but I guess if all these other people have already gone through and done it, it's probably too late to probably change it. But I don't know, kind of makes me want to sit there and reach out to whoever created it. I'm assuming Mamox and find out. I mean, is it intentional that it's just port 1, 2, 3, 4 as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which like everything tends to indicate that it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Was it just like a limitation? No, it can't be a limitation for the answer field because we've had longer answers. So I don't know. I don't know. We got it. We're done. Um, so I guess realistically, you could do everything with volatility 3. Um, and I know that the lab environment, if you run the image info for volatility 2, the first option is the correct one. I think it's win10 x64 underscore 11743, something along those lines. But it's the first option once you run image info, which is not what I got when I ran it locally. But whatever, we got it. So enough waffling. Here we go. This has been the. Oh, now I gotta remember because it's been a while since I started. The Incident Responder Hard free challenge. Alternate data stream. Hopefully that ended up showing up through when I was showing it off in the workbench. If not, I will take the typical one that I end up linking to and have that popped in. Which one? This one. Book.hattricks.xyz. That's kind of a volatility cheat sheet for V2 and V3. So I'll make sure that gets dumped in there too, since it's generally what I always refer back to. If it'll ever load, maybe, possibly. No, not so much. Okay. So there we go. That all being said, I will see everybody in the next video.